We're gonna be working on fire, pain, and rage today. In that order. Let's go. Fire! What are you drilling? Welcome back to my channel. So we are going to be installing a flamethrower kit on my 91 Camaro. This kit is made from a company called Hotlicks. They do all the original. If you go to the website, they've got, you know, all these examples. I cheaped out. I got mine on Amazon. I'll link that into the description. But it pretty much works the same, right? A spark plug to spark plug. So we'll go through start to finish how I wired this up on my 91 Camaro. Things to keep in mind is my 91 Camaro is completely straight pipe. There's no mufflers, there's no cats. Just, you know, fuel gets dumped into the system, we'll call it, and spark plugs ignited, and flame maketh the flame. The flame cometh from the vehicle and go boom, 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 boom. So let's get to it. When I first switched my turn downs to I used to have turn downs and I switched my exhaust so it's coming out the back. I was able to do that after I replaced the springs. The car wasn't so low, so they weren't dragging on the floor. Anyways, long story short, I bought this kit and I was so excited about this kit, so I bought it, and then you know what? I procrastinated and I never did it. Okay, I didn't procrastinate, meaning like I'm lazy and I didn't do it. I procrastinated because I started on different projects and I wanted to get the Camaro wrapped before adding the flames. I finished all of the projects that I started. So it's time to go ahead and get started on this. Let's take a look at what's in the kit. Little spark plug boot. Plugs. Some doodads. Wire. Oops, those are my doodads. We're gonna have to jack up the car. I'm like challenged when it comes to anything wiring. So just to make sure, you know, I tested my coil wire, the pink one, maybe it's red, I don't know, and it gets 12 volts with the key on. So I know that that's going to be the wire that I splice into. It's going to make sense when I do it. It's going to make sense to me too when I do it. I found the wire that I'm going to splice into, and I'm trailing it back into the firewall, into the inside of the car. This is going to be the hardest part for me, just the wiring. Is the only friend that gives a damn. Running on the borderline. Southbound. I've never loved working under steering columns just because it's such an uncomfortable, neck-breaking, rib-crushing, back-breaking position that you have to be in. It's particularly annoying working under the Camaro dash panel because I always find wires that look like they lead to nowhere that are spliced into, because my dad just did a real number on this car before I got it. Pay no attention to this rod, by the way. My pedal broke. So anyways, you know, I take this panel off, it kind of falls on me, and already I can start to see trouble. I tried to install an alarm last year, and the wires were so puzzling. There's really not much salvaging of them, because again, the ECM has been removed, so a lot of these just lead to nothing. There's no windshield wipers, there's no heater, there's no AC. A lot of them are dead, and I just can't figure out which ones I can cut away, and I don't want to make some terrible mistake. The goal is someday to replace the wiring harness in its entirety with, you know, like a painless wiring, but they're so expensive, and it's just not a job that I feel like starting at this time. So I got sidetracked with this little project because I found an open wire, and I'm just connecting it to make sure that it stays together for the long run. So as I was getting the wires prepared, I removed the panel that's under my steering wheel, and when I removed the panel, I see this wire that's like hanging on by a thread. It's got like actually a household like metal cap to it. So I'm like, well, that's weird. That doesn't look right. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So I touched it just barely and just, it came apart. I'm like, well, this must be important. So I got my little, testers. I tested it. The findings were inconclusive. So I just went ahead and tried to start the car with the wires disconnected. Nothing. Nada. Zip zilch. I held the wires together again and it started right up. So I'm sure, at the time I figured it out. Right now as I make this video, I don't remember what I figured out it goes to, but bottom line, it needed to be connected. So I did it the proper way. So looking back, my dad, this was his car before me. He bought it new in 1991 and he did all kinds of crazy things to it. And I know that my dad did this thing with the cap because I recognized the cap from when I was a kid, because my dad had this cap box. I'm gonna show it to you right now. Hold on. So, we would use these in our household for like, installing new light fixtures. And I found one of these holding some critical wires that make my car go vroom vroom. And yeah, so I know it was my dad. So I fixed it and I wired it up the proper way. But it kind of like, it took my day for a turn. Like I lost a lot of progress. I lost progress. So people, don't do this. Don't do it. If you're gonna do it, fix it later. I mean, at one point in time, I found a piece of wood in the door panel. My dad, I guess the window didn't roll. I guess the window kept falling down, so he had removed the door panel and he just stuck a piece of wood in there, holding up that window. Imagine the shock when I found that, when I replaced all the window regulators. Another thing is I found like a 2x4 in the engine bay, like miraculously holding something up. I don't remember what it was holding up, but boy, oh boy, not good. And then also don't use electrical tape or caps. Like, God, it's an electrical nightmare. And that's one of the reasons that I decided to convert it to a carb, because the original ECM was just, was so tore up. He had spliced it to all these wires. It would run perfectly for like an hour, and you'd park it at CVS, get back in, and it would not start up for days again. So now it's just simple carb setup. Beautiful. Starts every time. You're right. Welding this bung into the pipe is recommended. I am just going to go ahead and screw it in. I might go back and weld it later. And then they also recommend drilling it between 8 to 10 inches from the tip of the exhaust. Okay, I need to drill a hole about this big on the side of that tailpipe, or like the connecting right here. It's a 9/16 of an inch hole that you'll be drilling into, and I used a tiny drill, a medium drill bit, a large drill bit. So I used 3 before moving up to the big whammer jammer. And I did use an impact drill in the end. My Craftsman drill battery died, which is a good thing. And I also put plenty of oil as I was drilling it in. These videos are sped up, but I was going low and slow. The choice was to drill, the top of the pipe, the side of the pipe. Ultimately, I ended up going with the outside of the pipe for easier access and just like a cleaner look, because I could loop it around above the pipe and right directly through the rear trunk area. and it's you know, very distant from the gas tank for any of you who are wondering if it's right below the gas tank. It is not, let me tell you. It was a pretty good day up until this moment, so for those of you who are a little bit squeamish, fair warning, this is gonna hurt me more than it does you. Bap, 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 bap. This was really the first time I've ever hurt myself and got it on camera, so I thought I would just replay it a few times so we could really savor the pain and the lesson that I've learned. To be continued. Yesterday I started the whole flamethrower kit and I got distracted by a loose wire that I found under my steering column, so I fixed that. Then I got distracted with some other things. Then I started to drill the holes in the tailpipes and I hurt myself. I was fine, but that sucked. Kind of like mentally set me back. And then I got the holes kind of drilled and I realized that I had a 1/2-inch drill bit but not a 9/16 and I really did need that 9/16. So I had to pack up everything I was doing, go to the hardware store. Went to the hardware store. You know, they try to be very helpful there, but the guy always asks me what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and it sends me reeling. Like, it makes me irrationally annoyed. I am, you know, I've been all day outside in my garage, sweating my butt off, and you know you're desperate for a part when you have to actually drive to the auto parts store. So in this case, it was True Value. I go in, the guy's like, "Hey, how can I help you?" You know, nice guy. I'm like, "I'm looking for a 9/16 drill bit." He goes, "A wrench? A drill bit? Oh, a drill bit. What are you drilling?" "A tailpipe." "Why?" "Because it needs a hole." "Alright. Well, let me see. 9/16, that's a big one." In my head, I'm thinking, no shit, it's a big one. Anyways, you know, I could find it myself, but I feel like there's like 19 people working there. They're trying to be helpful. They just don't know much about helping. I don't know. So he, you know, hands me the 9/16 drill bit, and he looks at me, and he's like, $23.99, as if like I'm gonna be like, "Oh my god, I can't afford it, put it back." I'm like, "It's fine, you know, it's okay." He's like, "You sure?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm sure, thank you so much." So I get my drill bit, come back home, and finish drilling out my holes, but at that point in time, it's already time to pack it up. So this is day 2, and we're gonna get it done right now. first time I took all the paneling out. I was really careful, then I repainted it, and I thought, I'll never need to take these panels out again. I've probably taken them out like 47 times after that. So to get the carpet up, you do have to remove all the plastic pieces to do it right. And every time you do this, you risk, you know, cracking something or breaking something. But there's no other way around it. And then the bottom floor right here, it's extremely easy to drill through. And again, I started off with a smaller drill bit, worked my way up until I had one that was the right circumference for my wire. And I do plan on putting a little grommet inside as well to protect the wire from chafing against the metal. So it's 2 wires, 1 on each side, and I could have drilled a main hole and then run the wires down and separated them under the car, but I wanted as little wire exposed under the car as possible. So the 2 holes go into each pipe, and then this little coil box, I am using self-tapping screws to attach it right to the side. The side that I'm putting it into is the side where my spare tire goes, and my spare tire still fits. I don't really carry my spare tire around much, but it does fit there. I usually just put a fire extinguisher back here. And then so you're going to run the red wire, you'll attach the long black wire, and that's going to run all the way to the front of the car. So you're going to just, you know, basically take these 2 wires, put them together, and then you've got to get that black wire under the carpet all the way to the front. And then the ground wire is really simple. Obviously it's just ground, so you just want to grind a little bit of the you know, find a good ground, make sure it's, you know, the actual chassis and not just like a random piece of metal that's attached to the chassis or the, you know, the body, and grind away the paint so it makes a really nice contact. And yeah, easy again, self-tapping screws, just pop it in, easy breezy. And they do recommend putting the flame control module, that's that little black box, within 4 feet of the tips of the exhaust for automobiles. So they recommend putting it in the trunk or under the rear of the vehicles. Make sure you got a pack of zip ties handy because you want to make sure and, you know, tuck everything away and make sure that it's secure with zip ties. Don't make anything too tight because, you know, the car moves and you want there to be some slack. You know, you don't want them to drag, but you want the wires to have some slack so nothing like pulls apart if you like go over a crazy dip or something. So I'm running that black wire all the way up to the front, and you know, I had to take off some panels, so the little kick plate, the door seal, the side panels, all that good stuff has to come off. I was really lucky and able to miraculously jam the wire between some of the panels without having to remove the seat or the speakers or anything like that, but I was really gentle and careful and I made it work. But then I dropped a bolt. And it, of course, when you drop something, it goes into the abyss. There's like a gremlin under the car that took it from me. Not to fear, I have extra, and I know exactly where they are at all times. Save the day! Feels so satisfying. This is where things get juicy. I didn't want to remove the trunk hatch pole, and I had to get this wire in a clean manner up into under the steering column. So I jammed it. I tried to shove it. You know, that didn't work so well. And then I got a zip tie and I got some electrical tape, and I put the wire around the zip tie. It's like a really big zip tie. I could have done a coat hanger, but I would have had to go in my house and go upstairs to get the coat hanger, and I didn't want to do that. So the zip tie worked beautifully. I just made sure to use a lot of tape, and then I just kind of slithered it in like a slithery snake all the way up in there, and it worked. And since I'm a little bit on the OCD, obsessive compulsive side, I had to start putting my panels back before I even completed the job, because that's just the way I am. There was somebody on YouTube, and I saw him have his child, his like 5-year-old child, put his hand through the exhaust to hold the nut as the dad screwed the spark plug in. And when I watched that video, I thought, shoot, maybe my hand will fit through the exhaust. My hand did not fit through the exhaust. So I got a box wrench, and I put some tape on the outside, and then I lightly put the washer in it. The washer, what am I talking about? The nut in it. I gently put the wrench down the pipe, and yeah, it was frustrating, but I got it. Just, you had to have like a lot of patience for this. And I do plan on going back and welding it someday, but this is fine for now. And if you see the weld job, oh my gosh, I'll talk about that. But this was like a well-known place in Santa Clarita that does welding and that does, you know, exhaust pipes. And I've never seen worse welding in my life. It was so bad I didn't even know what to say. I should have said something, but it's fine. It is what it is. You know, it's a project car. I did get a discount, which I would have rather just had really nice welds, but that's just me. All right, if I want to do a test fit, tell my mom, start her up. Here we go.
Yeah.
I got it wired up. I tested the spark. I'm getting spark. So really all I gotta do is get the spark plugs like in there and finish wiring it up, hook up the little red button, and then we'll take it for a test spin. How exciting. So I promise you, next video we'll be making the actual fire. We will make it the flames. But thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about how to install a flame kit on your car, feel free to DM me. I'm a wealth of knowledge with this because I struggled so much. I even hurt myself really bad, but I lived. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. See you soon.
Well, Miss Lindy's hair is fire red, her eyes are water.